September 30th allotment committee meeting to order.
I'll call the September 30th allotment committee meeting to order. As the committee does not currently have a chairman, I will lead the meeting until the conclusion of the election of officers. The first item is the initial public comment period. Is there anybody wishing to speak? At this time, nobody coming forward. We'll close the first public comment period. Next on the agenda is item one, election of the officers. Can staff please provide a summary of this item?
Good evening, Allotment Committee. Michael Mays, Director of Community Development. So the Allotment Committee's year starts July 1 of each year and ends the following June 30th of the next year. And so with the new construction year, it is the time for the Allotment Committee to select a chairperson and a vice chair. The chairperson or chairman shall act as the presiding officer at all meetings unless they are unable to attend, and at that point then the vice chair takes over and runs the meetings in the chairman's absence. Any member of the committee can nominate somebody else for chair and vice chair. If there is only one nomination for each of the positions, then it will be automatic. If there are multiple nominations, then you will vote to select the chairman and the vice chairman. Any questions? So, nominations for chairman then.
Can I nominate Mr. Tibbs?
Turn your mic on.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Tibbs.
I'll second that.
Any other nominations for chairman?
Is anybody interested in being chair?
All right, hearing no other nominations, then Member Tibbs would be the chairman for the committee. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Hand over the...
So now we need a nomination for vice chair.
I'll nominate, oh, that's really loud. Sherry Jorgensen.
I'll second it.
All right. Any other nominations? All right, hearing none, we have our chair and vice chair. Thank you both very much.
Does that mean I take over from
Yes,
here? All right.
you are now chair.
All right. Agenda item 2 is approval of the minutes of the June 24th, 2019 regular meeting. Do I have a motion for approval?
I motion to approve.
A second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Next agenda item is item number 3. Quick question on reading these. We typically read out the entire AFDA 19.
Yeah, just for clarification for the public and obviously anybody that's watching at home, just so that they know which item that you're considering.
Great.
So you could just read the agenda item.
All right. Agenda item 3, AFDA-19-192, Sheldon Colin and Natalia DeVera for David McMillan, 1300 Gingerwood Street. Review and rating of the application for 7 residential allotments for construction year 2019-2020. Staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the Gingerwood Mobile Home Park is approximately 35 acres in size, developed between 1975 and 1977 with 270 mobile homes. The development has within the parameters of the park 2 vacant areas, which the owners are proposing 7 new sites, and the reason for consideration before you this evening. And if I could show the site plan on the screen for the benefit of the committee and the audience. Lot A, which was attached to your packet in the map, is one site at the northwest corner of the property and at the west end of Teakwood Street. And then Lot B has 6 sites at the southeast corner of the property planned for a southerly extension of Hazelwood Street. The staff report describes what is needed of the allotment committee this evening, which is your evaluation of the development proposal, looking at the 9 criteria that are contained within the city code. You will see that attachment 5 of your staff report is the rating sheet, where we will be seeking your consideration and scoring of each of the 9 criteria. As you can see, there's a maximum of 115 points, and you can score it from 0 to the maximum for each of the criteria. It's your opportunity this evening to ask questions of the applicant, which is obviously here to answer those questions and provide a brief summary. Within your packet, staff has also provided a 3-year history of the allotments that have been awarded already. And so for this construction year, which is part of your consideration this evening, construction year 1920, so far no allotments have been awarded. However, Storybook has received 30 reservations for this construction year. And so with that, I can answer any questions. And certainly we can come back and discuss the process for the scoring later on after you've had a chance to ask questions of the applicant.
Yep, go ahead.
I have a few questions. This is an all-senior park?
Yes.
Oh,
Over
and
55.
And if you could,
Sheldon Colin, 2580 St. Rose Parkway.
thank you.
Okay. So you said it's over 55 or 55 and over?
55 and over.
Okay. And what's the limit as far as guests? Because I noticed that it said that children are not allowed there.
I'm the applicant. The owners are back here, so I'm going to ask them.
Not true. Children.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
So children are allowed?
It-
Of course.
I again cannot
He
hear
just
you.
asked if it's okay if they talk.
Yes, you just come up and please introduce yourself.
Okay, my name's David McMillan.
Talk into the mic, please.
Okay, my name is David McMillan, one of the owners of Gingerwood. Do you need the address or just my name?
Just your name.
All right, to answer that question, it is a senior 55-plus community, which it's always been from day one, and we plan to keep it that way. But no, there is visitors allowed. People can have their grandchildren or children come and stay, and they cannot be permanent residents of the park, but they can be visitors. They can stay for 45, 45 days.
Up to 45
Yeah.
continuous days?
Yeah, and then they leave, and if they come back later, and the expansion, the spaces would be expanded, would still be under the 55 plus criteria, and our goal is to build it out, with all first class and put all new homes in. It won't be bringing old homes out of other parks, or it'll be all brand new manufactured homes that'll come in. We have a great need. People's calling, pretty near every day, every other day, asking us for spaces, or, if we can accommodate, and we can't because we're full. And they'd be gone in no time if they'd be rented before we were finished with it.
So you're providing the mobile homes as brand new mobile homes and renting those homes out?
No. People will buy their own home and put it in the park as it is now. Them is all private owned homes.
And they're brand new?
Well, the new ones going in, yes. The existing homes is all owner occupied. The owners live there. They own their own homes. Some of them's newer, some of them's older. It just depends. There's some people that's been in there 30 years. Or
Correct.
better, maybe 35 year. And then we have a lot of new people coming in. But
And what size are the
maybe
lots?
take over, but-
Say it again?
What size are lots, sir?
Well, it depends on the square feet.
They recommend, let me ask, they go from like Lot A is about 5,000, B1, B2, B3 is just under 5,000, B4, 5, and 6 is 3,900, which is actually in line with what's already there. The reason we have to ask for the waiver is because of the size. As time progressed, the requirements changed, so now it requires a waiver to get down to what is already there.
What size are the homes that are going to go on those?
These lots that we're proposing is actually bigger than what's in the park now, but they run consistent with what's in there. The new home sizes would range anywhere from like 24 by, well, actually, there's homes 16 wide up to 52 feet, but what we normally use is double wides. And the double wide homes is like 25 or 24 feet wide by anywhere from 40 feet up to 50 feet in length.
What's the
50
square footage of that?
Like 1,300, 1,400 square feet. On that size home, it would range anywhere from maybe 1,080 square feet up to 1,500 square feet.
And what's the requirement for the frontage? And you said that you
Well,
have
we would meet
average,
The setback requirement.
the setback
We'll
requirement?
meet all the setback requirements, yes.
And what about landscaping?
And we'll landscape to be consistent with the park. It's desert-type landscaping, and some trees, like palm trees, but I think there was a letter describing the landscape somewhere.
Yeah, but she's just asking.
Yeah.
I noticed with the second set with the B with 6 different mobile homes,
Yes,
that
ma'am.
it's jutting out away from the mobile home park, and it's not consistent with the rest of the mobile home park. Is there a reason for that?
Well, from what I was told, the lady that I bought the property from, Iris Corley, her father was the original developer. It was in their family for over 40 years. And I guess he reserved that one corner for storage. And then it got out of hand over the years. People were storing junk and different things in there. And then he discontinued that and actually developed a storage area at the top part of the park, some years ago. And that's just been sitting vacant. I guess he used it to store construction equipment, because it's my understanding that he developed the park in phases over the years. He might put 30 or 40 spaces in, a year or two later add another 30 or 40 till he finished it out. But it's off a little bit, because it's a corner, but it is consistent with the park. That street, Hazelwood, will run all the way down right into it.
It runs into it. Does it have an exit area for emergency vehicles?
No, it has a turnaround for them that city.
But turnaround isn't the same as an emergency exit.
No, it's designed, the fire department asked the civil engineer to design a Y out to where. the civil engineer in the city asked, the fire department conferred with him and asked for a turnaround. It's specifically designed for what the fire department was looking for.
So the fire hydrant's down at the end and everything?
Yeah, it's designed for an emergency vehicle to be able to turn around and get out instead of being caught at the end, which is what your concern is, yeah.
That was my concern, yeah.
Yeah.
And there is a fire lane there. When you go down there, there is a fire lane that's to code. It's what the fire department asked for.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Does this project qualify for low-income housing? Is it part of the 50 exceptions? Because this would be affordable housing. This is going to be the closest we ever get to it.
Now, when you ask about affordable housing, are you talking about does it have the opportunity to seek Section 8 housing?
No, I'm just saying it is affordable housing because double wides you can't buy a house as cheap as a double wide.
Oh, right.
So we're actually fulfilling the need of the company or the city's need for some of the lower income people or senior citizens and stuff, basically. So does it qualify for that?
I would have to evaluate to determine whether it would be eligible to meet that criteria or not. But certainly compared to the sale of other homes within the community, it's going to be lower than the median sales price.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
How much is the lot rent?
It depends, between $490 to what is it, Sue? $540.
$540 and how much would a mobile home cost monthly to pay for a brand new mobile home?
Well, I couldn't tell you if they mortgaged it, what the mortgage payment would be, but the average new double wide is anywhere between like $60,000 to $100,000 for a new double wide, but then they would have a setup fee. The homes have to be set up to county, state, and city. As they set them up, the inspectors come out and inspect to make sure that the sewer's hooked up right, the leveled and blocked right. There's, but when they're done, they're like a home.
They're beautiful when they're done.
The new ones are really beautiful. In fact, I provided pictures to Susan a while back of the new. They have front porches on the front or half porches, depending. And they have gabled fronts like a home. They're really, really nice. And they're built, to the pretty strict building codes now. They impose on the manufactured home builders. Actually, it's federal, government. So they're really beautiful, all drywall and textured. It's quite a home for the money,
Do you take into account handicap accessibility as well?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, we do. We comply to that.
You have any other questions?
And I mean, the main reason and main goal was the property sitting there. It has been sitting there for forever, and all it does is blow dust all through the park and grow weeds. We're down there cleaning it, and we have such a great demand. If a home comes for sale in that park, it's sold within a week. The real estate lady here, Melissa, sells most of the homes in there because she's manufactured home licensed. And we get calls every week. This is our park manager, Sue Davis. She can tell you we get 2-3 calls a week, asking if we have a vacancy to put a home. And Clayton Homes and Cavco down in Bullhead City, they're calling us all the time wanting to, can we get a space? We have people want to live there. I'm confident they would be sold out before we've had them built. There's only 7 lots, but it would really make a difference in the park being nice.
I have one last question.
Yes, sir.
Are the mobile homes ever allowed to put permanent foundations on them? which makes them real property, you know what I mean? Right now, they stay mobile homes because they're on portable structures, but if they ever put a foundation on them, they're real houses.
I guess if you bought a lot outside the park and, and did that, like
Okay.
there's subdivision right across from Gingerwood, and people have homes in there, but typically within a private park, they don't set them up like that, you know?
Okay.
I mean, once they're set up, they're there to stay. They're not gonna be floating around through the park. They're permanent.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? Thank you. So staff, can you provide us with the next steps for scoring?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So at the end of your packet is the scoring sheet. I've also provided a copy of that at the dais for each of you. You have the 9 criteria in which you have to score. As you can see, the corresponding points are anywhere from a maximum of 5 to a maximum of 20 for each of the criteria. What I would ask is that over the next couple of minutes, each of you would look at each of these criteria and consider what score you would apply to each, and then total up the points. What I'd like at the end of the evening is for each of you to provide me your form with your name and have it signed, and then I'll fill in the details later. But what I want to do, once we have everybody's total scores, I apply that to the maximum total, and that comes up with the score percentage. That score percentage is what you would use to make a motion to recommend to the City Council your allotment score. And then it will need a second, and that would complete your evaluation of the development proposal. Any questions with the scoring?
If an item doesn't really apply, that's not a negative, is it?
It's a very good question, and I believe it's been a while since mobile home park developments have been scored. Several years ago, the committee had made a determination that when a individual single-family home is being considered by the allotment committee, all 9 criteria did not apply. And so therefore, they recommended reducing it down to 4 criteria. The only concern is that if you feel like a criteria does not apply and you don't score it, it will lower your average overall. Now, certainly if the committee wants to make a determination that certain criteria don't apply in this case, then collectively you wouldn't score on that criteria, and that would preserve your overall average of the development.
Are there any other criteria that anyone thought did not apply specifically?
I don't really think that number 7 applies.
Number 7? Why? Have you been in there?
Well, yeah, I have actually, and
You can walk
They're not
through that
really-
park all the time.
right, but it's not a provision of a footpath. Yes, you can walk on the street, but it's not, I don't think it really applies, but you can keep it.
No, I agree with that too. They don't have the space for a footpath, bicycle path. I mean, you would be on the street when walking in that. It just, until you go outside of the park, then those things are available.
Is there not sidewalks?
I mean, I think if we leave it in there, I'm going to give it a 0, but I don't know if that's necessarily fair because they're adding on.
Maybe
Because they're adding on to an existing, and it makes sense to add on to the existing.
Right.
So it doesn't seem like it's fair that this would count against them.
Right. I agree.
Yeah, that was my point earlier, that,
That's what I figured.
but the rest of the park has these facilities, and they're only adding like 6 units to it.
Right.
So
Right.
should we assume that they have that because it's in the park? Because this is just a real short adjunct to the park. I mean, it's just
Right.
3 units wide, basically, of a street, and they had that Y in there for the turn. I was wondering why that turn was there. It's for the fire department. Hey, they could have another lot there. But no, I think it's a great
They
deal.
have
so.
something in the park. Do you have a footpath or something in the park, in your park?
You mean a walking path for
You know,
the
walking
people?
path and bicycle path and stuff?
Not designated, but actually the people walk in the streets and the curbs and stuff.
Right.
And it's a good walk because some of it's hilly and flat, and they're always out walking in the evening or in the morning. And it's safe because in the senior communities, the people isn't running up and down the streets in cars, and it's pretty quiet.
You have a lot of speed bumps, though. That's Keep it safe.
It's pretty safe. You know, they like it, the people that live there.
Mr. Chairman, I think as the committee is evaluating, obviously when this was originally conceived, the intent was to compare one subdivision proposal to another and to look at the different amenities that are being provided to factor into your overall scoring. So that if at the end of the year we had more than 120 allotment requests, that would give guidance to the City Council to then decide this development was a higher quality development based on these factors, and therefore we're providing the allotments to that development versus an alternative. I do know that in the past the committee has looked at existing conditions as part of their criteria. And again, this is unique because this is an additional 7 lots to an existing development. So certainly it's at the committee's discretion, but you could factor that in to your criteria as to what does the overall development provide.
So my personal opinion is I'm okay with leaving it. I think it's a very small percentage of the score, but if the rest of the committee is interested in taking that out of consideration, we would just make a motion and do it that way if somebody felt strongly about it.
Yes.
Okay. So I think sounds like we're going to leave it in. And so we just go through, we score individually right now and
work on it individually, and then when you are all done, if you can just indicate to me, and then what I'll do is I'll ask each of you for your total score, and then I will tally that up and then give you the percentage. And then again, just as a reminder, if you can leave with me your ranking sheet, then I can fill in the individual criteria later on.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
I would actually like to make a motion to have this submitted. The reason why is I don't think it should be held against them, and should we receive more plans to build over the course of the year, I just don't think it should be penalized in any way. The criteria isn't pertaining to the park right now.
You know what? I think the streets qualify for the bike paths and stuff because it's a kind of a separate area where it's got its own private entry and stuff like that. It's not like anybody. It is really calm in Gingerwood. I really approve of myself. And I think it follows the criteria. But it just that we have to look at like the streets basically are the bike paths, et cetera, for that one.
Okay, so just read into it differently.
I would think so on that one.
I agree with you. I went on a ride along way back when with one of the police officers, and he said that was one of the safest parks in town and cleanest. And one of the things he mentioned was the fact that the seniors got to walk in the streets and felt safe doing so, and that was like a walking path for them. So, I mean, you could put it all 5 on that one, you know, or just knock down 2 because it wasn't a designated one, you know what I mean? You knock down a point or 2, but, I mean, you can be reasonable about it, is that.
When I suggested that motion, it was purely to look out for them in the future.
Absolutely.
Because I don't think they should be penalized for it. It is a lovely community. So we keep it, just read into it differently.
If you want to keep your motion and someone wants to second it, then we can consider taking it off. Otherwise, I think it would stay.
Okay.
Does
Chairman,
anyone
I
like to second?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was just going to say, are you withdrawing your motion just for clarification, or?
I can withdraw the motion, yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
If we're done, I'm sorry. When we're done, we just wait. Okay.
Maybe I'll give it a couple more minutes and I'll ask how everybody's doing. I guess when I see everybody's pens drop, then I'll know for sure. All right, it looks like everybody has dropped your pens. So are you ready for me to collect the scores? Okay. We'll start with committee member Ballestier. Total score, please.
97.
Thank you. Committee member Beaver.
111.
Thank you. Committee member Jorgensen.
113.
Thank you. Committee member Kelso.
115.
Committee member Rudd.
113.
Our chairman.
I'm the bad guy. 80.
And committee member Tyler.
95.
All right. Just give me a second to tally it up and I can give you the percentage. All right, there was a maximum score of 805. The committee collectively provided a total score of 724. That is a percentage of 0.8994. And we go to 4 decimals. So your recommendation to the city council would be a score of 0.8994. Any questions with that?
Okay. Can we get a motion to approve a score of .8994?
I motion to approve.
Get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, now we have item 4 on the agenda, the last item, final public comment period. If you have any comments, please come to the podium and state your name for the record. Okay, seeing no comments, we'll close the public comment period and adjourn the meeting. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you all very much.